Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our YouTube channel, Mazz Reporter. Today, on January 17th, 2026, we're bringing you a clear and simple roundup of the top trending news stories from around the world, covering politics, business, technology, sports, climate, art, and health. Let's begin. Top trending news from UK and European region. The UK is involved in several important international and domestic developments. Former British Prime Minister Tony Blair and U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio have been chosen to join a new White House Board of Peace. This group will help manage Gaza during a temporary period after a ceasefire. Their appointment is part of wider discussions about the UK's role in U.S.-led foreign policy efforts. In England, the National Health Service NHS is expanding access to a drug called abiraterone. This medicine helps men with advanced prostate cancer live longer. Thousands of men are expected to benefit each year, and many lives could be saved. In UK politics, controversy continues after senior politician Robert Jenrick said Britain is broken and appeared to support the Reform UK party. His comments caused strong criticism, especially from Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch, and have added to political tension inside the country. Across Europe, leaders are discussing whether Ukraine can join the European Union more quickly, as the coming year is seen as very important. Security issues are also a focus, including cooperation in the Arctic and continued military and financial support for Ukraine. There are also wider international tensions. Protests have taken place in Greenland and Denmark after former U.S. President Donald Trump again talked about taking control of Greenland. In response to growing security concerns, European NATO countries are sending soldiers and ships for military exercises. At the same time, European countries are dealing with other internal issues, including France's relations with African nations and ongoing political disputes in the UK. Top trending news from region of the Americas. Large protests are happening in Minneapolis because people are angry about federal immigration enforcement actions there. Many tens of thousands have marched, chanted slogans like "Abolish ICE" and "No Justice, No Peace," and called for immigration agents to leave the state. Some demonstrations became violent, with people throwing snowballs, rocks, and fireworks at law enforcement, blocking roads and clashing with officers. There have been many arrests, and federal agents have used tear gas and other crowd control tools. A judge in Minnesota has now limited what federal agents can do against peaceful protesters. Local leaders are urging calm to prevent the situation from getting worse. The U.S. Department of Justice is also investigating whether Minnesota's governor and mayor interfered with federal enforcement actions. President Trump has said he might use the Insurrection Act, a law that allows the military to be sent to U.S. cities to respond to the unrest. These protests started after multiple shootings and deaths involving immigration agents and have become a major issue in U.S. politics. Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado, who won the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, met with President Trump at the White House and symbolically presented him her medal, hoping to influence U.S. support for democratic change. However, the U.S. government has shown mixed signals, supporting the interim government and securing access to Venezuela's oil as part of broader negotiations. Machado says she believes free elections will eventually take place, but the road forward is still complicated and unresolved. Top trending news from Western Pacific region. China recorded its largest trade surplus ever in 2025, reaching about $1.2 trillion. Even though the United States kept high tariffs under President Donald Trump, this strong result came mainly from a big increase in exports to countries outside the U.S., including the European Union, Africa, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. Exports jumped sharply in December, and imports also reached record levels. Because of this strong trade performance, global organizations like the World Bank are more positive about China's economy in 2026 and have raised growth forecasts to 4.4%. However, problems remain. such as too much industrial production and worries from other countries about China's growing influence. At the same time, geopolitical tensions continue. China has placed export controls on certain dual-use goods items that can be used for both civilian and military purposes, affecting countries like Japan. Relations between China and the United States remain tense under Trump's policies. In the Pacific region, island nations face new pressures, including Trump's support for deep-sea mining and slower economic growth. Sensitive issues like Taiwan and regional military alliances remain major sources of concern. In a notable diplomatic move, Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney visited Beijing and secured a major trade deal. The agreement cuts tariffs on Chinese electric vehicles and Canadian canola, and both countries promised closer cooperation in energy, farming, and green technology. President Trump said the deal was a good thing but warned Canada about future risks. Many see this agreement as a diplomatic success for China, especially as it faces pressure from the U.S. There is also growing attention on China's ambitions in space. Reports suggest China may launch up to 200,000 satellites to compete with Starlink, which would mark a major step in the global space race and has sparked heavy discussion online. Finally, China is seeing innovation in other areas, including environment-friendly lithium battery recycling using carbon dioxide and water, rocket launches from the sea, and rapid growth in the ice and snow economy in places like Xinjiang and Harbin, where winter tourism and related industries are expanding. Top trending news from the Eastern Mediterranean region. Iran is still facing serious tension after security forces violently stopped protests. Reports say more than 3,000 people were killed. A senior religious leader has demanded very harsh punishments, including executions of arrested protesters, and has also threatened the United States. Although protests have slowed and streets are calmer, the situation remains unstable. Iranian opposition leaders living outside the country are asking other nations to increase pressure on Iran's government. In Yemen, tensions continue between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates over control of the southern region. Saudi Arabia is trying to strengthen its influence by removing groups supported by the UAE and starting political talks. There are also accusations that separatist leaders are being secretly moved or supported, which has increased distrust between the two countries. Inside Saudi Arabia, work is moving forward on major economic projects under Vision 2030. These include the futuristic NEOM project and its planned city called The Line. The country is also investing in data centers, mining projects, and plans to open its markets to more foreign investors from February 1st to support business growth beyond oil. Across the wider Middle East, the United States has named new members, including Marco Rubio, former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, and Jared Kushner, to a new board of peace for Gaza. This group is part of President Donald Trump's plan to help manage and stabilize Gaza after a ceasefire. Meanwhile, Syrian government forces are continuing military operations in northern Syria, showing that conflicts and security problems in the region are far from resolved. Top trending news from African region. In Uganda, President Yoweri Museveni, who is 81 years old, is leading by a large margin in the latest election results. He says his long rule has brought stability to the country. However, opposition leader Bobi Wine, who is also a popular musician, says the election was rigged. He claims the army detained him by force, and his supporters report harassment and intimidation. Human rights groups and critics say political oppression in Uganda is still a serious problem. In South Africa, authorities are investigating claims that President Cyril Ramaphosa's instructions about Iran's involvement in an international naval exercise were incorrectly presented or misunderstood. The issue has raised questions about transparency and decision-making in the government. Top trending news from the Southeast Asian region. In Dhaka, journalists and newspaper owners are asking the government to protect them after violent attacks onto major newspapers. The attacks happened during a time of political unrest and have raised serious concerns about press freedom as elections approach. In sports, during the ICC Under-19 World Cup. The team captains from India and Bangladesh did not shake hands before the match toss. This follows a recent practice and is seen as a sign of wider political and regional tensions. Across Southeast Asia, politics is in focus. Thailand is preparing for a sudden general election, even though many people worry about the strength of its democracy. Vietnam is getting ready for its 14th Communist Party National Congress, which will begin later in January and will decide future leaders and national priorities. In Myanmar, the military government has announced plans for elections in stages. However, many people doubt these elections will be fair or credible. The region also faces broader uncertainty, including trade tensions and changing relationships within ASEAN, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, which is currently chaired by the Philippines. Top trending global news in business. The UK economy performed better than expected in November 2025, growing by 0.3%. One reason was that Jaguar Land Rover restarted car production after recovering from a cyberattack. Early signs suggest the economy may continue to improve in 2026. The FTSE 100, which tracks the biggest companies listed in London, recently passed 10,000 points for the first time. This milestone came after a strong year, helped mainly by rising shares in defense companies. Officials at the Bank of England have said they may cut interest rates further if inflation continues to fall and moves closer to 2%. By mid-2026, internationally, Canada and China agreed to lower tariffs on electric vehicles and agricultural products, choosing a different path from the United States. Former President Donald Trump warned Canada about this move. In the U.S., Wall Street had mixed results, with some unusual investment activity linked to Trump and rising prices for tin, a key industrial metal. Top trending global news in technology. New advances in artificial intelligence and consumer technology are attracting attention as the world looks ahead to CES 2026. A major technology event where new products are often announced. In the UK, an artificial intelligence company called 11 Labs, which makes AI voice technology, is seeking new investment at a value of about $11 billion. If successful, it could become the most valuable AI company in the UK. Meanwhile, Elon Musk's Starlink satellite internet service is facing challenges during Iran's crackdown, as access and operations are being tested. In the United States, Google is appealing against court decisions in major antitrust cases, as it tries to overturn rulings that say it has too much market power. Top trending global news in sports. Football news is focused on the big Manchester derby between Manchester City and Manchester United, with fans and media eagerly discussing the matchup. In tennis, players are preparing for the Australian Open. Venus Williams has received a wild card entry, and Novak Djokovic is aiming to win his 25th Grand Slam title. In other sports, NHL hockey and NBA basketball games have seen some outstanding performances from key players. The Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2025 is reaching its final stage, with the championship match between Morocco and Senegal scheduled for Sunday, the 18th of January 2026. In sports, the famous Dakar rally is nearing its final stages in Saudi Arabia, with the last major leg heading to Yanbu. Qatari driver Nasser Al-Attiyah won his 6th Dakar title, highlighting Saudi Arabia's growing role as a global motorsport and tourism destination under Vision 2030. Top trending global news in climate. Weather and climate risks continue around the world. Authorities are warning about snow, ice, and floods, and people are being urged to prepare more carefully. Global ocean temperatures are at record highs, causing more extreme weather. In the UK, this could mean wetter winters and hotter summers in the future. Many people are worried about floods and how these changes might affect health. Reports show that 2025 was one of the hottest years ever, and new maps reveal hidden ice landscapes in Antarctica. Scientists are also pushing to protect important natural areas, such as the peatlands in Patagonia, which help fight climate change. Extreme weather is already affecting sports and major events worldwide, showing how urgent action is becoming top trending global news in arts. London's theatre scene is lively, with many new shows and transfers opening. This includes musical revivals like Beetlejuice as well as innovative new productions. Venues such as the South Bank Centre are also hosting thought-provoking performances, while discussions continue about supporting smaller, local arts groups. These shows highlight the energy and creativity of London's West End. In music, new soul artists are gaining attention, including some mysterious AI-generated singers with millions of streams. In the art world, auctions of Jimmy Carter's paintings are happening, and recent Banksy murals often about justice and society are attracting debate and tourism. Broader trends show growing interest in immersive experiences, like the Frameless exhibition, and a stronger focus on accessibility and disability in art and design. Top trending global news in health. Doctors are warning about possible new disease outbreaks in 2026, flu including a mutated superflu. Norovirus, rubella, and mpox are the main concerns. Hospitals are already under pressure from high patient numbers, and a new mpox strain has been found. The UK Health Security Agency UKHSA is encouraging eligible people to get flu vaccines. In the UK, a YouGov poll shows that about 3.3 million adults plan to use GLP-1 weight loss injections like Mounjaro this year because of rising obesity. Experts are discussing who can access these drugs. NHS rules are strict. What happens when people stop taking them? And new food trends, with more people choosing protein-rich diets. There are positive results for Novo Nordisk's oral Wegovy weight loss pill, and studies show paracetamol is safe during pregnancy, correcting some false claims. Other ongoing concerns include opioid use and the effects of technology and AI on mental health. Thank you for tuning in. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like, subscribe, and share. We'll keep bringing you interesting and insightful updates on the stories that are shaping our world.